Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Walkthrough Radio Show with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. And if you're checking us out on YouTube at the Walkthrough Radio Show, we definitely appreciate it. All right, K-Walk, what's going on today, man? How you doing?
All is well, Jay. Beautiful day here, man. Looking forward to a great show. Looking forward to a great game tonight between the Celtics and the Warriors. So I'm ready to get into it, Jay. Let's do it.
Yeah, man, definitely. We got some good topics today. Obviously, we're going to talk NBA, but we got some good NFL topics, your start bench cut, of course. And then we're also going to talk about Zeke Elliott, a player on one of the greatest franchises in football history. So we're going to get into that as well, man. But let's start with the NBA, man. And obviously, we're going to talk about game two and kind of get your insights on what both teams need to do to win. But before we do that, let's go back to game one, K-Walk. What did you see? I think most people felt like Golden State would win game one. How did Boston pull it out, man? Just give me your thoughts on game one.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, they stayed on course, man. I mean, it was a tough, definitely a tough loss for the Warriors. I mean, if you look at, they were up 12 at the end of the third quarter, and the outcome became they wound up losing by 12. So I don't know if it had anything to do with Boston. I'm not discrediting Boston by any stretch. But I think that Golden State kind of took their foot off the gas, man, if you will. And then Boston saw that and they took advantage of that. They didn't want to have a fourth quarter like they did against the Miami Heat in game 7, where they allowed, meaning Boston, they allowed Miami to come back and almost win that particular game when they pretty much had that game in hand. But they saw that Golden State did the same thing. They stayed on course. They stayed focused. They stayed energetic. And they took advantage of what Golden State refused to do, and that's to close out the game. So I think we're definitely going to see a different game for sure, but we'll definitely dive into that. I know. But yeah, I mean, just hats off to the Celtics, man, and Jaylen Brown and Al Oldford, as I called him. He just went into the fountain of youth, man, and put up that 26, and that was a huge difference in that outcome as well.
Yeah, no doubt. He's been great. And you're right, man. There's something about Golden State and taking their foot off the gas. A couple times in that game, it looked like they were going to run away with it, and I was texting back and forth with one of my brothers, and I was like, you know what, though? I said, man, Golden State always goes through a point in the game where they get a little careless with the ball. They start taking some shots that maybe aren't great, and they have a way of letting teams back into games at times. So I think you're right, man. I certainly feel like sometimes when they get a lead, they get a little loosey-goosey, and that opens the door for teams to get back in it. And then, of course, if Boston's going to shoot the ball like they did in the fourth quarter, a 40-point fourth quarter, and then holding Golden State to, I think it was like 16 or 17, that's tough, So
yeah.
You're right. Give Boston credit today. I do think we're going to see a different game tonight. I think Golden State's going to come out and really try to jump on Boston right from the get-go. And it's going to be interesting to see if Boston can withstand that initial punch. I think if they can, we might have a very interesting game. So let's kind of break that down as we go into game two, K-Walk. What does Golden State need to do? If you were going to point out a couple of keys to victory, what would Golden State need to do to walk away with a win tonight?
Yeah, just do what they did in the first 3 quarters of the first game, Jay. I mean, and continue to play that consistent basketball. Just do exactly what they've been doing, sharing the ball, hitting the shots when they're open, facilitating to one another. I just think that those first 3 quarters are an indication of what type of Golden State team that we're expect to see, I should say. But that fourth quarter was a letdown. But I think that they just have to continue to play that ball, and they have to take advantage of Boston, because Boston is playing a lot of basketball in the last couple of months. They had the game 7 against Milwaukee, the game 7. I mean, you had 7 games against Milwaukee, 7 games against Miami. So they have to take advantage of that. And they're not really deep, meaning Boston. They're not really deep as far as guys coming off the bench, at least quality guys coming off the bench. So I think Golden State has to continue to do what they did in the first 3 quarters, and then take advantage and continue to run against these guys, and ultimately get these guys, wear these guys down in the fourth quarter, and then take it from there, and just as Coach Roddy used to say, hey, it's time to put the nail in the coffin. They have when you have them down, that's one of the things that you have to do when you smell blood in the water. You have to go in there and you have to just take full advantage of it and just put it away.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, one of the interesting things about Golden State, like as good as their offense is with all the motions and sets that they run, I'm not sure like how many guys that they have that can really get it on their own, like off the dribble. Like we know Steph can, but he also gets a lot because of screens. Like I don't think Clay is a great guy getting his own off the dribble. Jordan Poole has that ability, but hasn't been great lately. So
Right.
with the kind of defense that Boston plays, I feel like Golden State, they're going to need someone to help Steph. Like someone else is going to have to be able to create some offense just to kind of take a little bit of pressure off of Steph. But no, I think your points are right as how Golden State needs to try to attack this thing. But what about the other side, right? If Boston is going to get up 2-0 and really take command of this series, what do you see as some keys for Boston if they want to come out on top tonight?
Just continue to play the same way we've been playing. The defense, you mentioned defense. You got to cut the head off the snake, if you will, to kill the body, and then that's what you got to neutralize. I don't know if you can stop Steph Curry, but you can slow him down, and I think Marcus Smart does a great job of doing that. But you mentioned, other guys for Golden State. I think Andrew Wiggins has to be the guy to step up and create off on his own. But
Yeah.
going back to Boston, you got to neutralize those shooters, man, as much as you possibly can. Keep Steph under 20 points, keep Clay under 20 points, allow the Jordan Pooles, the Andrew Wiggins, the Draymond Greens to come out there and put up points that they're not used to putting up. And if they can do that, Jay, then it's going to be a long series for Golden State for sure.
Yeah, you're right. The great thing about being a great defensive team is that's something you can hang your hat on, right? That's going to travel with you wherever you go.
Yep.
You don't have to rely on whether or not your shot is on or off. If you give the effort and the attention to detail, your defense can always be there with you. So I really think that's a good thing for Boston to hang their hat on. And you got to expect Tatum to be better, even though I don't think he played a bad game in terms of the all-around game. He obviously didn't shoot the ball very well. So if you're a Boston fan, you got to believe that Jason Tatum is going to play better tonight. The one thing that scares me a little bit when your role players play great is sometimes they start feeling themselves a little too much. So I just want to watch out tonight and make sure some of those Boston role players don't say, look, I'm on fire, I'm hot, I had a great game one, and try to come out and do too much in game two, because I certainly think that could backfire on them. So that's going to be something interesting to kind of keep an eye on. But all right, K-Walk, I think probably 95% of the people are picking Golden State tonight to kind of even this thing back up. Give us your game two prediction. When it's all said and done, who wins this thing tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna join the 95%. It may make a little bit more, make the percentage a little higher, but yeah, I'm going to go on board with that, Jay. I just think that Golden State let one slip away in game two, and I just don't think that they're going to allow that to happen. Nothing to take away from Boston, but I just think that Golden State is just too good to lose two in a row, especially at home. I think they come out and they focus from tip off to the final buzzer, man. So I'm going to take Golden State in this one. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a dogfight for them. Don't get me wrong, because of the fact of the matter is Boston is battle tested. They understand. They've been here. So yes, I'm going to get Golden State in a close one here.
Yeah, look, everything you said makes complete sense, right? Nobody can argue any point that you just made. But I'm going to go the other way, K-Walk. I know it. I know it sounds crazy. Like on Golden State's home floor, Golden State's down 1-0. I'm not going to say it's a must win for them, but it's getting pretty close to a must win, right? But I just feel like, and Boston too has had a tendency after that Nets series to like play a good game and then not be very good the
Yes.
next game, then come back and play a really good game. So you almost expect there to be a little bit of letdown from Boston tonight. But I think if they can withstand that initial punch, I think Golden State's going to come out the gate firing on all cylinders. But I think if Boston can withstand that initial punch and by the second quarter be in reach, I feel like their defense and their shooting, I think it's going to be a problem for Golden State. So I'm going to be crazy and I'm going to take the Celtics tonight to go up 2-0. And I know that's a long shot. But I think there's just something about this Boston team. There's something about this Boston team, man. So we'll see. That game kicks off tonight. 8 p.m. I believe it's 8 p.m. tonight. So that's going to be a great one. Good stuff, K-Walk. Let's do this, man. Since we're going to switch over to some NFL topics, let's grab a quick break. And then when we come back, I got some take your picks for you, NFL quarterback editions. I think I picked some tough ones for you, K-Walk. So we'll see how this plays out. But we'll do that as soon as we come back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. And we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. And also, if you're listening on YouTube at The Walkthrough Radio Show, we appreciate you wherever you're listening to us at. All right, K-Walk, I got some take your picks for you today, man. NFL quarterback editions. I think I grabbed some good ones here. It's going to be interesting to see kind of which direction you go. I'm going to start with the one that I grabbed from She Knows Sports the other night. Brittany and Princess were talking about Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, two young, dynamic quarterbacks, have a lot in common, but also have some differences. And K-Walk, let's assume here that all things are equal, right? So you've got a team and you're just going to insert a quarterback, not necessarily Lamar with the Ravens or Kyler with Arizona, but the team is set and you're just picking a QB. Who would you take, man? Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson?
I'm going to take Lamar, man. I really am going to take Lamar. I just think Lamar has more to offer than Kyler Murray. I think, and I'm taking it because of the size difference too. Yeah. Kyler Murray, that size is going to hurt him for the most part. Not every time, but for the most part, it will. I love Lamar Jackson's ability to scramble. I know Kyler Murray can do that, but it just seems like Kyler Murray is more of a scrambler, whereas Lamar Jackson is more of a runner. So, his speed is a little bit different than Kyler Murray's speed. I think Kyler Murray is more quick than he is fast, but I think Lamar Jackson he has both quickness and speed as well. The arm strength, I'm going to give a slight edge to Lamar Jackson. I think he's an underrated passer. I know he doesn't do it a lot. I know they rely on his legs more than anything else. Kyler Murray has a decent arm. He has that baseball background, but I do like Lamar Jackson for sure as the overall package. He's a better quarterback, better runner as well. He's more used to running than Kyler Murray. So I'm going to give the edge to Lamar for sure.
Yeah, man, that's a good call. Like I came into this thing thinking I was going to take Kyler, but you kind of got me wondering now, like, should I go Lamar for everything that you just said? And I love your point about Kyler being maybe a little bit more of a scrambler, where Lamar can really hurt you, or at least hurt you more consistently in the running game than Kyler does. Not that Kyler can't run, because we've certainly seen him make good runs, but I do think that's a really good point about a difference between the two of them. I sort of prefer Kyler more in the passing game, though. I think he's definitely he's further along, I'll say, in terms of throwing the football at the NFL level. It's close, man, but you know what? I'm gonna flip flop here. I'm gonna take Lamar. I was planning on taking Kyler, but you convinced me, man. I'm gonna take Lamar, and I think this is a big year for Lamar too. I really think it's time to take that next step. So I'm gonna take Lamar, but it's close for me. But I'm gonna take Lamar. All right, let's go old school here. Let's go back in time a little bit. Randall Cunningham. Us growing up in South Jersey, I know this is a guy that we both watched a lot of, K-Walk. And then Warren Moon. someone who I feel like is underrated when we talk about NFL quarterbacks. Take your pick, K-Walk. Randall Cunningham or Warren Moon?
This is the toughest one. So, Jay, be honest with you, because I'm a Warren Moon guy and I'm a Randall Cunningham guy as well. We've seen everything that Randall could do with his legs. Warren Moon was mostly a pocket quarterback. We saw that that offense that he had with Houston and just his ability just to spread the ball around. I remember playing Tecmo Bowl back in the day, and one of the offenses I used to play with was with Warren Moon and those guys, or Ernest Givens, all those guys, man. But to answer the question, man, God, Randall was just fun to watch, man, and he had a gun. Oh my goodness, man, this was a tough one, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Warren Moon. Now, this is a tough one, Jay. If you take Randall, I would not be mad at it whatsoever. If anyone takes Randall over Warren, I had no problem with it, no argument with there. But I'm going to take Warren Moon. I just think he was more of a pure passer. He was more of that pocket guy. I know we loved see the guy scramble, make the plays that Randall made, but I'm just going to take Warren Moon in this one. I just like his arm a little bit better.
Yeah, look, I'm 100% with you here, K-Walk. I'm taking Warren Moon as well. Like I said, I think he's underrated. And we got to remember, when Warren Moon came out, that was at a time where Black quarterbacks were not really given the opportunity to play in the NFL. He ends up going to Canada and winning a bunch of championships in Canada. So some of his, I don't want to say necessarily his best years, but some of his really good years were over there playing in Canada before he kind of had to prove to people, hey, I can play quarterback in the NFL. And then when you just look at his numbers and some of the things that he's done and the highlights, man, I think Warren Moon is really, underrated, one of the better quarterbacks to do it, but just maybe doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. So nothing to take away from Randall. I enjoyed watching Randall, and he was really the first guy to kind of bring some of that razzle dazzle to the position in terms of being like dual threat. But I'm going to take Warren Moon here as well, man. All right. Let's go two more guys. Dynamic, but sort of in different ways. Let's go Cam Newton and Mike Vick. Cam Newton and Mike Vick. Take your pick, K-Walk.
All right, this is going to have a lot of bias in it, man, but nothing to take away from my man Mike Vick. But I'm going to go Cam Newton, man. Cam Newton is my guy, man. Since day one, even when he was at Florida, he left Florida, went to Auburn, and won a national championship there. He's always been my guy. I just loved everything about him, man. I just love the way he approached the game. I love how he talks trash. It's just everything about him, man. And I mean, there's nothing that it's more than just doing that. But his ability to play on the field is tremendous as well. I mean, right now in the latter part of his career, doesn't look too good for him. He takes a lot of unnecessary hits, or he took a lot of unnecessary hits, will probably derailed his career for the most part, as far as a productive standpoint. But I do like him. He got to a Super Bowl. Vick was dynamic, man. He just his ability to run. He has that laser arm, that left hand, and just the way that ball came out of his hand is just unbelievable. The way I remember that game against Minnesota in the overtime game, he just ran right past everybody, right in the middle of the field. But I'm going to take my man Cam, man. I'm going to take my man Cam. Cam was just a little bit different than Vick. Nothing to take away from Vick, but like I said, this has a lot of bias in it, so I'm going to go Cam.
Yeah, look, either way you go here, I don't know that there's a wrong answer. I think I'm going to take Vick, and it might be similar to your saying. I think I just like Vick more than I do Cam. There's something about Cam that sometimes just gets under my skin. I don't know what it is. So that's part of my decision-making process. And then when I look at Vick, the Atlanta years, he set the NFL on fire when he was in Atlanta. Like you talked about, just an absolute cannon for an arm. We know what he could do with his legs. Just unbelievable. And then had a decent second act in Philly as well. So I'm going to take Vick, but again, I don't know that there's a wrong answer to this question. Right. Both dynamic, both brought a lot to the position. Neither one of them got that Super Bowl, but like you said, Cam did get his team there. But both just two exciting guys. But I'm going to take Vick. All right, let's go to the next one, man. Russell Wilson, Donovan McNabb. Russell Wilson, Donovan McNabb. Take your pick, K-Walk.
Yeah, it's another tough one, man. I love Dynamic McNabb, man. I played against him in college, man. Just love the way he approached the game, his time in Philly. I know a lot of people gave him grief for that Super Bowl loss. You know, they said that he got too tired in that. But I still like his game. I still love everything he brought to the table. But Russell Wilson is just a different guy. I mean, he's more of a scrambler. He extended plays with his legs, and he's able to put that money. I mean, just he just throws the ball straight up in the air, and it just comes straight down in the receiver's hands, especially on those deep routes. And not to mention, he's a Super Bowl winner as well. So I'm going to give this to Russell Wilson. But D McNabb, I love you, brother, man, but I got to give the edge to Russell Wilson on this one, man.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% here. I'm giving the edge to Russell Wilson. I just think more complete at the quarterback position. Both good throwers of the football, both using their legs as well too, right? But I think I would just give the slight edge to Russell. And look, like you said, nothing to take away from Donovan. I mean, he had the Eagles in like 4 straight NFC championships, if I remember correctly. You mentioned getting them into the Super Bowl, even though they came up short. So excellent player, but I think Russ is just a little bit better. So I'm going to take Russ. All right, man. Last one. I got Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys and Colin Kaepernick from your San Francisco 49ers. Again, wow. All things being equal, and we're just inserting a quarterback. Who you taking, man? Dak or Colin?
Wow, this was a tough one too, man. I'm going to. It's going to sound so biased, man. But this is a slight edge, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually a coin flip for me. So with that being said, I'm going to take Cap, man. I'm going to take Cap. Cap was able to. The reason why I'm going to take Cap because Cap was more of a winner than Dak was or is right at this point. Cap got his team to Super Bowls, got him to NFC championships as well. He's 5 yards away from winning a Super Bowl for the 49ers. If he could just put that ball on the money to Michael Crabtree, we will talk about him, being a Super Bowl winner and things of that nature. Dak just hasn't won enough for me, man. Just hasn't won enough for me. I mean, we're talking, I don't even one playoff game, if that. I don't know the exact number on that. But with that being said, and then obviously Cap can run the ball as well. He had one of the strongest arms that I've seen in the league in a long time. And it seems like, with that workout with the Raiders, he still possesses that arm strength. So, based off all the tools and what Cap was able to bring, I'm going to give the slight edge to Dak as far as throwing the ball. But overall, I'm going to give it to Cap.
Yeah, not mad at it at all, K-Walk. Again, I think this one is really close. I think I'm going to go the other way, though. I'm going to take Dak Prescott. Look, when Colin Kaepernick came into the NFL, there were really no answers for him in terms of what they were doing with that offense. I mean, defenses did not know how to defend what he was doing in the run game. And then a very strong arm to throw the football, not necessarily a great passer early, but definitely had the arm strength. But when I look at like longevity, I feel like people started to figure Cap out as some of the seasons went by. And I don't know that he threw it well enough for consistency over a long period of time. So I think I'm going to take Dak because I think over a long period of time, he will end up being the better quarterback. If it was a 1 or 2 year thing, I'd probably go Colin, but I think Dak's going to be more consistently better over a long period of time. So I'm going to take Dak, but it's close for me as well, K-Walk. All right, man, let's, I got a few minutes here left until we got to grab the next break. Let's do a little bit of a fun one, man. I wanted to do something a little different here before we close out this segment. I want to talk about your personal favorite football moment, right? It could be a play that you made, a game you played in, a team you were on, anything. It doesn't even have to be, it could be a moment in the locker room. It could be anything, man. Just your personal favorite football moment. And look, when you played football as long as we did, starting out as little kids, going all the way up through college, Canadian League, like there's a lot to choose from, K-Walk.
Yes,
but give it to us, man. What is your personal favorite football moment?
Oh man, this was kind of easy, kind of tough at the same time because, like you said, there's so
Okay.
many of them. But
Yeah.
one that I will never forget, I was a part of, and you were part of it as well, and that's the state championship in 1991. I mean that was just an unbelievable season, a storybook season as we called it.
Yep.
11-0. I mean, the way we beat teams, it just wasn't really fair. Sometimes we got down, but we came back and won. And just to know that what we did before that season or going into the season, we guaranteed it. We said, listen, we
Yes.
guarantee a state championship season. Right after our junior year, and we went out and we lived up to the expectations. As we always say, we talked the talk and then we ultimately walked the walk. So yeah, and just to be a part of that and just to see, and at this time, Jay, it's the first and only state championship
Yes.
in
Yes.
Cinnamon history. So yeah, definitely by far, man, this is one of my favorite. I mean, by far my favorite moments, teams, games. I remember every single game from game
Yep.
one, Jamesburg, to game 11 in Hamilton. Man, I remember every
Yep.
single game, man. It was just
Yep.
this was an awesome experience to be surrounded by so many great athletes, so many great guys, and the support that we got from the school and the community as well. And not to mention great coaching staff. I mean, what a great coaching staff that we had.
Yes. Yes.
On offense, the head coach down onto soup, a super
Yes.
manager.
Yes.
I mean, everything about it was just great, man. I let's enjoy the experience, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I that's my favorite moment as well. But just not to be the same, I'm gonna pick something different. But you're
All right.
right, K Walk. One of the best things about that is when we came up short our junior year,
Yeah.
we got on video. We stood in front of that video camera and
Yeah.
said, "State champs next year, we guarantee." And that was a bold statement, man. And then to be able to come back, go undefeated, walk the walk. I mean, that was incredible, man. And like you said, just the relationships, the Friday nights, watching film and eating pizza,
Yes, pizza.
just
Yeah.
everything that came from that is definitely my moment. But let me grab another one here, just to
All right.
add something different.
All right.
I was thinking about the Rose Bowl season. Obviously, Penn State
Oh,
going 12-0,
okay.
winning the Rose Bowl. Wonderful. But I'm going to go all the way back, K-Walk, to my little league football days, the
Okay.
Palmyra Pals in Palmyra, New Jersey. K-Walk, I was so excited coming into the season, and I thought I was a good player. I was having great practices. My teammates were like, yeah, this cat can play. First game out, this is not the moment. This is just some context. First game out, K-Walk, we play a team called Oakland. They would wear silver and black, just like the Raiders, man. They put it on us, K-Walk. I was getting didn't get any yards. I mean, they were just tearing me up, K-Walk. After the game, the coach was like looking at me like, what the heck happened? What's wrong with you, man? So first game was terrible. I'm at home kind of licking my wounds, wondering like, man, can I play this game? But then here's the moment, man. The second game, I don't even remember who we were playing. I went off, K-Walk. I had like 4 touchdowns. I was running up and down the field. I was unstoppable. And I was like, okay, I'm who I thought I was. But yeah, man, that's, and it's funny. Some memories as a child, like they kind of stick with you, and I can still see myself running up and down the field that day. So I'm going to take that moment, man. But you're right. That state championship was definitely fantastic. All right, man. Great stuff, K-Walk. That's all the time I have. We're going to grab a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, K-Walk's got some great topics to get into, so stick around. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Again, you're tuned to the Walkthrough Radio Show. It's myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, ladies and gentlemen, first segment, we talked about, if you missed it, we talked about game 1 of the NBA Finals. Gave our predictions on tonight's game 2. Has some great comparisons. Who would you take? Love those, Jay. And our favorite moment in our football careers and just football in general. So great stuff there, Jay. I do want to stay on the NFL topic, and I want to talk about your guy. I guess we got to call him your guy now, and it's such a pleasure allegiance to the Cowboys. I want to talk about Ezekiel Elliott, man. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott right now seems to be like, he's ready for I don't want to call it a breakout season, but I guess an advanced season. I don't know what you really want to label it. I don't know if he comes out and, rushes for 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns. Will he be considered a comeback player of the year? But nonetheless, he's motivated, Jay. But how do you see his season going this year for your Super Bowl Cowboys, as you like to label them?
I know, man. And I want to be optimistic, K-Walk. I want to say he's going to be great. He's going to set the league on fire. He's going to be that Zeke that we saw in his rookie season. But even though I'm a Cowboy homer, K-Walk, I want to be realistic. And let's be honest, Zeke has not been the same. The injuries obviously have taken a toll. He's had some weight issues as well. Sometimes I think he comes into the season out of shape and a little bit too heavy. And the offensive line in Dallas isn't as good as it was when he first came into the league.
Right.
I mean, we were talking about them as the best offensive line in football. Now I'm not so sure, right? So I think there's some things working against Zeke. Now, I do think he's going to come in shape. He says that he's healthy and ready to go, so that's a good thing.
Right.
And he's only 26 years old, so he's not even to that point where we start talking about running backs, short careers, that kind of thing. So I think he still has some good years left. So I do think Zeke will have a good year, but I don't think he's going to set the world on fire, K-Walk. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be great. He's going to share some duties. Obviously, they do it by committee a little bit in Dallas as well. So I think he's going to bounce back, but I don't know that at the end of the season, anyone's going to be talking about Zeke Elliott as the best back in football.
Yeah, Jay, and like you stated, his age. I mean, right now, he's like 2 years away because everyone wants to put put the running back on the shelf at the age of 28, and it seems like he's already hit that wall, if you will. And ever since he got that big contract, we just haven't seen the same Zeke that we've seen before that contract was signed. But yeah, I mean, he's coming out motivated. That's great for the Cowboys. That's great for that offense. Yep. If he can come out and give them what he's expected to give them year in and year out, you may be onto something as far as the Cowboys. I mean, I'm not going that route, but you may be onto something. I think it's all predicated on that running game, and then of course they have the other back there as well. Who he kind of a change of pace type guy. But yeah, for sure. He returns kicks as well as, I don't know why his name slips my mind right now, but
I think it's Pollard, right? Is it Pollard?
Pollard. Yeah. 20 Pollard. Yeah. So, those guys are really complementary to one another. I mean, Zeke comes in there, he can give you that power running game, if you will, whereas Pollard can give you that shifty gut type thing all outside the tackles, as opposed to Zeke like going in between the tackles. And also Pollard on returning kicks as well will help them out as well. But I don't know, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure, especially in the 17 game season this year. I don't know what we're going to get from Zeke. I hope we see, I hope we see a healthy Zeke. I hope we see a more motivated Zeke, because that just means that the Cowboys will be in the hunt for that NFC East and NFC and period. And it just makes it relevant. It just makes football, a lot more enjoyable to watch. So good luck, Zeke. I know you're coming out motivated, man. So hopefully, you'll be cut. You'll lose some of that weight, as Jay mentioned. So I hope you're not hanging out with Zion Williamson, man. And then get back in the gym, get back in shape, man, so you can do your thing for sure. Jay, I want to stay on the topic as well. I mean, on the NFL topic, and I want to talk about Mr. AJ Brown from the newly acquired from the Philadelphia Eagles. He has come out and said that he and Devonta Smith are now the number one receiving duo in the league. Based off of the new acquisition, obviously. But Jay, we'll definitely dive into it. I'm going to ask you about the best trios in best top three receiving duos. But what do you have these guys? Do you think they're number one? You don't have to give your top three away just yet, but does he have a legitimate gripe?
No, not for number one, not in my opinion. I would have them in the top five. I think that they could easily be a top five duo, but no, I don't have him at number one, K-Walk. I think, and Devonta's young, right? So I think he's developing, and I think he's prepared to have a great season. And I like both of these guys. I just think number one is a bit of a stretch, especially because I don't know that Jalen Hurts, in terms of getting those guys the football, is going to be as nuanced, as advanced in the passing game as you're going to need to be to call yourself a number one receiving duo. So nothing against their talent as receivers. I just don't know that the guy throwing the ball to them is going to have them in a situation where they're going to be the number one duo in the NFL.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, man. When I first heard it, I get, I get he's a receiver, a wide receiver, as we like to be called, or not like to be called, that we're generally called. But I like the confidence, man, and that just means he's motivated to come in there, and he's very happy with this, with this trade, and he's all in. And I love that, man, when receivers come in and they say immediately you make an impact statement or whatever, you still got to back it up. We know that, but I just love that he's all in. He's not bitter with the trade. Some receivers will come in there and say, well, the first thing he'll say, well, I'm going to make them pay or make them pay. No, he said, I'm going to make this team that I'm with now better. And I love that focus for him. So, wow, your Cowboys better watch out for this team, my man, for sure, man. But Jalen, like you stated, Jalen Hurts is the X factor here, and
for sure,
if he goes, that obviously the Eagles will go. But I'm not ready to put him at the number one duo at this time for the upcoming season. But as a great transition, nonetheless, Jay, I have to ask you. I asked you about your top three duos this season coming up, wide receiver duos. Who do you have? You can give me honorable mention. You can give me top five if you did that. But I was just asking for the top three. Who do you have there?
Yeah, my top three, K-Walk. I'm going to start at number three. I've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin from Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Mike Evans is one of the most consistent receivers we have in football. 8 years in a row of 65 receptions and 1,000 yards, 8 straight years. So you're going to get nothing but consistency out of him. And then if you look at Godwin, who's a little bit more explosive, 85 catches, 1,100 yards the last 2 out of 3 seasons. So I really think that combination, along with the guy that throws them the football, Tom Brady. So I got them at number three. Number two, I'm going to go Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Okay.
Jamar Chase last year, 81 receptions, 1,400 yards. And T. Higgins is quietly showing people, hey, maybe I could be a number one if that other guy wasn't on the other side. So I think he had over the last 2 seasons, 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns combined over 2 seasons. So I like that duo. And sometimes Jamar Chase just looks like he's unstoppable. So I got them at number 2. And again, you got to look at the guy that's throwing him the ball, Joe Burrow. He's only going to get better. But my number 1 duo, K-Walk, I went with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I know they haven't played together yet, but when you look at Tyreek, man, like this guy is explosive. He's going to demand double coverage. He's going to open things up. And then if you go to Waddle on the other side, I mean, as a rookie, he had 100 catches and over 1,000 yards, K-Walk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the 2 of those together, you can't double both of them. So somebody's going to have one-on-one coverage. Someone's going to be open, and that's going to be a lot to deal with. Now, you could say, well, Tua's throwing him the ball. I think Tua's going to be better this year. I really do. I know he's had some bumps in the road. He's been inconsistent, but I think Tua is going to be better this year. And those 2 guys, just how dynamic they are and how tough they're going to be. If anyone's trying to cover a one-on-one, I've got them as my number 1 duo right now. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm not mad at that, Jay. I'm not mad at that. I knew we weren't going to be on the same page. We got 1 out of the 3 that I have in my top 3. But the 2 that you did mention, you are Godwin and Evans. I do have them in my top 5. And also you mentioned Chase and Higgins. I love Higgins, man. I think Higgins is very underrated. I think he's very explosive after the catch. We know what Jamar Chase is going to give to you. He can hit you with those slant routes. He can take you deep as well. And you mentioned Joe Burrow. He can put the ball on the money. But T. Higgins, when he gets that ball, I mean, he's looking to just get right upfield. He's not one of those guys who's going to go east-west. He's got one of those guys who's going to go north-south, if you will.
Yeah.
I just love that. As soon as you get the ball, you get it right up the field. So T. Higgins does a great job of doing that. But my top three, I'm going to start at three, man. Three. I got Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow right now out of Las Vegas. I think Derek Carr is a underrated quarterback. I think Hunter Renfrow, we've seen him his days at Clemson. I mean, he's just an outstanding slot receiver. He knows how to get open. And we already know what Devontae Adams can do his years in Green Bay. But I'm not ready to give them that number one slot just yet. But still have to see what Derek Carr can do. But I do think Derek Carr is a good quarterback, good enough quarterback to make this duo really something special. My second team as my second duo, I went with you. Not number one, but I put him in my top three, and that's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. For everything that you mentioned, Jay, we just want to see.
Yeah.
I think that, with these weapons and what Miami was able to do to add certain pieces to this puzzle, if you will, I think Tua will be able to will be able to step his game up and take it to the next level. He and Jalen Waddle already had a great chemistry. Them two with the slant routes and those whip routes, the ins and outs. They were great at doing that. But now when you can get a guy who can really stretch the field, that's going to open up so much more for Jalen Waddle. And, Tyreek, we already seen what he can do. So I put them at number two. My number one, man, I went to Minnesota, man. I went to Minnesota, and I went with Adam Thielen. I think this guy, man, Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, excuse me. I think Justin Jefferson is one of the best young receivers coming up right now. And when you have on your other side with Adam Thielen, and I mean, he led the league in receiving a few years ago. And he's a touchdown scorer, big playmaker. And then you got the young kid, Justin Jefferson, coming on, to complement that. I just think those are my three right now, but I do have your other two in my top five. But yeah, great stuff there, Jay. Really, really great stuff there, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Jay,
all those guys you mentioned were like on my list as I was crossing some people out. And you're right about Jefferson and Thielen, man. Those guys, because you're right, Jefferson, like, some people are arguing that this guy's like the best receiver in football, or at least on pace to be the best receiver in football. So definitely not mad at those three. And hey, man, you're the wide receiver extraordinaire. So we will yield to you in terms of the wide receiver critique. So good stuff there, K-Walt.
Yeah, and they got Dirty Kurt, man. Dirty Kurt just signed another huge deal, man. And Dirty Kurt doesn't get enough credit, man. He's I don't know. He might be the biggest. I don't know what you want to call him, Jay, but I don't know how he's getting all this money, man. But shout out to his agent for sure, man. He's getting huge contracts. Yeah, I mean, he played it smart with the franchise tag those few years there, and in Washington, but we'll see how it goes. But I like Dirty Kurt, man. I like Dirty Kurt and able to get these guys the ball for sure. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our next break. When we come back, I want to talk a little AFC West, Jay. I want to give your thoughts on your predictions on that. A lot of people are labeling this as the best conference in best division, in all of NFL. I want to give your thoughts and opinions on who you think is going to win this division, and can all four teams make the playoffs? We'll definitely dive into that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, you are tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, we were talking Ezekiel Elliott, and we were giving our thoughts and opinions on the best wide receiver duos coming up in this upcoming season, 2022 season. So great stuff there. I want to stay on the NFL talk, and I want to talk the AFC West, Jay. There was a lot of activity on this past season, this past off season. We had, just to name a few, we had Russell Wilson going to Denver. We had Tyreek Hill being traded from Kansas City, and we had Devontae Adams going to the Raiders. And what I don't know what actually stood out with me with the Chargers, but they're still a young team coming up. You got Herbert coming back. He's going to be leading that team. I think he's going to have an outstanding season. But with all that being said, Jay, Who do you have? How do you see this division playing out? Can all four of these teams make the playoffs?
This is tough, K-Walk, because if you kind of look at the records from last year, like we know KC was 12-5, had a great year. I feel like they might take a little bit of a step back this year. I think losing Tyreek, that's going to be a big loss for them. I think he did so much in opening up that offense. And then if you think about the Chargers, even though they were 9-8, you got to believe they're going to be better because Justin Herbert is only going to continue to get better. So I feel like they might get a little bit of a bump. If you look at Denver, 7-10 last year, but you got to believe adding Russell Wilson to that team is going to give them a little bit of a bump. And then, as you already mentioned, Devontae Adams going to the Raiders, who were 10-7 last year. So, I mean, I feel like all these teams are going to be right there in the mix. I don't see all four teams making the playoffs just because has that ever happened before? I mean, maybe it has. I don't know, but it just seems like it's a little bit unlikely. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan, K-Walk. I think he makes every team that he goes to better. Like when he was at NC State, they were good. Then he went to Wisconsin and played in a Big Ten championship. Obviously, we saw what he did with the Seahawks. And I think he's going to make that Denver Broncos team better. If you want me to pick a division winner, I think I'm going to say the Raiders, K-Walk. I think 10-7 last year, adding that dynamic receiver. I'm going to pick the Raiders as the division winner. I still like KC to make the playoffs, obviously. And then even a third team. I'm just not sure if it's going to be Denver or the Chargers, but man, that's going to be a heck of a division.
Yeah, for sure, Jay, for sure. And and they also Kansas City, picked up Juju Smith-Schuster as well, to make up for Tyreek. He's not a Tyreek, but he's a quality receiver, nonetheless. And then you mentioned the Broncos, they brought in, obviously brought in Russell Wilson. They had some key acquisitions from my 49ers, DJ Jones and K'Wan Williams as well. So I thought that boosted up their defense for sure. It was tough for 49er fans to see those guys go. Also, we don't know what Jerry Jeudy's availability is going to be like. I believe the charges were dropped, but sometimes that can warrant a 1 or 2 game suspension, whatever. I know it's going to be a long 17-game series, but you throw that into as well. But I'm going to go with you, Jay. I'm going to take the Raiders in this. I just think that Devontae Adams pickup, and along with some of the other acquisitions that they made, and we mentioned, I mentioned Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I think that's going to be a really good combination, and it's really going to be some nice toys for Derek Carr to play with. Not to mention Derek Waller as well, the tight end there as well. Very athletic tight end for sure.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go with you, Jay. I'm right now, as it's presently constructed, I'm gonna take the Raiders to win this, and I'm gonna get the Chiefs a second, number 2, finish number 2. I'm gonna give the Broncos number 3 spot. Just don't know really what we're gonna get from the Chargers. So I'll put them in the 4th spot. Do I think all of them will win? Will make the playoffs? No, I'll give the top 3. I'm with you, Jay. I'll give the top 3, but I think all will be in the hunt. I don't think any team is going to, just run away with it. But I think, the Raiders will win, by 2-3 games, and Kansas City be right behind there. But I still think the other 2 teams will have a winning record or be around. Well, they can't be around 500 because it's a 17-game season. But hovering above or below 500 to end the season. So I definitely like that for sure. So great stuff there, Jay. One more, Jay. I didn't throw this in there. I forgot to add this to you, but I think it's a simple one. I actually presented this on Facebook, and this is my guy, Franklin Gore. Franklin Gore signed a 1-day contract with the 49ers, so he can retire as a 49er. So with that being said, he's coming off that knockout win. That knockout win. I don't know if you saw that his boxing match, his debut, when he knocked you clear out.
Yes,
but congratulations on that. But say all this to ask you this: is he a first ballot Hall of Famer to you?
I think he is, K-Walk. Well, when you talk about consistency, and I don't want to say only consistency, because then people say, maybe he wasn't that good. This is a really, really good running back that played a really, really long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything you can take away from Frank Gore when it comes to running the football. So I do think I'll say this, I think he's deserving to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
You never know sometimes the way these things go.
Right.
And someone made a point, I think in your comments, that sometimes it depends on who else is on the ballot, right? Like if it's one of those years where you've got a bunch of guys that are no-brainer first ballot Hall of Famers, then maybe he gets pushed back to second time around. I don't know, but I think the short answer to it is yes. But sometimes the Hall of Fame gets a little tricky, so you never know. But I would say he's deserving to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree, Jay, and I'm going to sound biased because he's my guy, man. I've been a Frank Gore guy from since he was drafted out of Miami. You know, he's coming off, and for him to be play as long as he did in the NFL, Jay, and especially coming off of those two serious knee injuries out of Miami, says a lot about his work ethic, man, and his durability as well. Once he got into the league, you know, he really paid attention to that aspect of his game. Not to mention he's the third leading rusher of all time. I mean, you got to say something. You got to throw that in there as well. That says a lot as well. Again, I'm going to sound biased for sure, but I do think Franklin Gore. I call him Franklin Gore because he's my guy, man. Yeah, Frank Gore. I think he's a first ballot guy because of those things that I mentioned. I know he played with several different teams, but just the longevity for him to be able to sustain that career and ultimately be the third leading rusher of all time. I think that gets him first ballot. Will I be surprised if he doesn't become a first ballot guy? No, because I know he'll eventually get in the second ballot. I know he's a shoe-in for Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of when, but I would love to see him a first ballot guy. I think he's deserving of it, as you stated, and I hope he gets it for sure. So good stuff there, Jay. All right, we got a few minutes here, just enough time for our start bench cut, Jay. The first one I'm going to go with, we're gonna circle back a little bit for some basketball here, and these are the these are NBA trios. Okay, NBA trios. Just one moment here, guys. Okay, looks like I lost something there. All right, NBA trios. We got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green.
Yeah.
We got Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. And we got LeBron James, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. Start bench cut.
Ooh, man. Oh, man. I'm going to start. I'm going to start Steph, Clay, and Draymond. I was going to start LeBron, but I changed it last second. Just because I think when they're done, I think there's a very good chance to get a fourth championship this year. And then I think over the next couple of years, they're going to be in the mix for more. So they could end up with 5 before it's all said and done. So, and just what they've done, even the 3 that they have right now, I think it's fantastic. So I'm going to start them. I'm going to bench LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh, even though I think they're probably a better trio in terms of on the basketball court, more dynamic, more overpowering, more unstoppable in a way. I think they underachieve. Like they should have won more than 2 being together. And I know they set the bar high with not 6, not 7, not 8. To only get 2, it's sort of a knock. I had to knock them down a peg there. So I gotta bench them. I gotta cut Ray Allen, KG, and Paul Pierce. Part of it is because I just was never a big fan of those 3 guys. I know you and shout out Brittany Jones. Y'all love yourself some KG. I am not really a KG guy at all. So I'm gonna cut them, man. And they won 1, right? Or did they get 2? They got 1, right? I'm gonna cut those guys.
All right. I'm not mad at it. I'm actually going to go the same way as you, Jay. I'm not mad at it because of the fact that everything that you mentioned, the winning that Curry and Thompson and Green have already, achieved. And you mentioned, the potential to do more. They can win another one this year, and they're in a prime position to, like you said, win at least 2, 3 more. So definitely going there. I went with Bosh, Wade, and James for the second one because you mentioned it too. As a Heat fan, man, that was tough. 4 straight finals, and you only get 2 out of that.
Yeah.
You know, I knew LeBron wasn't going to be there for the long haul. That's probably why I'm still upset with him today, and I'm not a big fan of him today as far as on the court. But I'll get over that. Yeah, and then as you mentioned, even though KG was my guy, Ray Allen is a super smooth shooter, and then Paul Pierce the truth, but just getting one which wasn't enough, so I definitely gonna agree with you there. Next one here, Jay. No, we're close on time, but this one is going back to the NFL, and I'm going to go with the best NFL offenses of all time, in your opinion. Well, not offense of all time, but these 3. We got the greatest show on turf. That's the 1999 Rams.
Yep.
We got to 1998 Minnesota Vikings with Cunningham, Robert Smith, Chris Carter, Randy Moss.
Yes.
And the third one, you got the 2007 New England Patriots with Tom Brady, those guys, and Randy Moss had a great outstanding season there. Star bitch guy.
That's tough, K-Walk. I think I'm gonna start the 07 Patriots, just because that combination of Moss and Brady was unstoppable. And I think, if my memory serves me correctly, they set a bunch of records that year. I know they came up short in terms of winning the Super Bowl, but what Randy Moss and Tom Brady did that year and with that offense, man, it was absolutely ridiculous. Undefeated in the regular season. I'm going to start them. I'm going to bench the 98 Vikings because Moss and Cole Pepper and Chris Carter and Robert Smith, I remember watching them, man, and just being enamored by that offense. And again, they came up short as well, but just a great offense to watch. The greatest show on turf. I know they won the Super Bowl, so this seems crazy to cut them, but there's something about those other 2 offenses that I just like a little bit more. So I got to cut the greatest show on turf.
All right. Oh my, wow, that's interesting, Jay. I'll keep it brief, but yeah, I'm gonna go a little different here. I'm going to start the greatest show on turf, man. I just think that name was just perfect for them that particular season with Isaac Bruce, Isaac Holt, Torrey Holt, Isaac Keene, Marshall Faulk. I mean, the list goes on and on. And of course, you had Kurt Warner and that offense, man. And then as a 49er fan, I just couldn't stand watching them, man. But I was in awe of them, man, because they just made it look so easy, man. So I started them. I benched the 1998 Minnesota Vikings team. That was a great team with Randall Cunningham, Robert Smith, Randy Moss, and Chris Carter. And I believe I forget the big guy's name. I forget his name, but I can't think of it. But anyway, so I benched them and I cut the 2007 Patriots. I just think they just had that one combination, Jay. They just had that Brady to Moss combination, but they had the other guys, Julian Edelman and those guys as well. Don't get me wrong, that was a great offense, but I'm just going to bench. I cut him in this particular scenario. All right, last one, Jay. These are current defensive duos. Okay, all right, for coming up in the 2022 season, we got Michael Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, excuse me. Yeah. We got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. And you got Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Start bench cut.
That's a good one as well, K-Walk. And let me go back just for a second. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might need a redo on that last one. When I go back and rewatch this, I might be ready to call it another flip-flop, K-Walk. But for this one, man, I think you got to start Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, you just have to. People will argue that Donald is the best interior D lineman to ever do it. And Jalen Ramsey, I mean, there might be some other arguments out there, but best corner in football right now. So I'm going to start them. And then I'm going to bench my Cowboys, man. I think Michael Parsons he's on the come up, had a great rookie year. I think he's prepared to dominate the NFL this year. And Diggs, even though he takes a lot of chances and gets beat a lot, he's a great playmaker. He is a great playmaker. So I'm going to take those 2 guys. And then I gotta cut Garrett and who was it? Ward.
Word, yeah.
I'm having a hard time remembering his name, so I gotta cut him. So I'm gonna go that way on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna concur with you on that one, man. I still can't get used to, man, you saying my Cowboys, meaning you saying your Cowboys. But yeah, but I'm definitely going to start. I'm going to start Donald and Ramsey. I'm going to bench Parsons and Diggs, and I'll cut Garrett and Ward as well. But great stuff there, Jay. Great stuff. That's all the time that we have, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, I always want to leave you guys with something, and today I'm going to leave you with this. The key to success is to focus on goals, not obstacles. For myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins for the Walkthrough Radio Show, God willing, we'll talk to you next week.